Hi everybody, hello, welcome back to What Day Is It with Danielle. It's in fact Wednesday, even though I keep forgetting that every 3 seconds because, it's hard to keep track. But oh well, how you guys doing? How's everything going? I'm really excited about today's topic because, truthfully, it's a topic that I personally really struggle with. Not so much the work-life balance. That part I feel okay about. It's working from home that's really difficult for me because I don't like staying put indoors, which obviously is a huge challenge right now, but also like the office work part of my work is very, very difficult for me. I really don't enjoy that. I really enjoy this and I really enjoy cooking and that's it. All the other stuff is, the difficult stuff. So I'm really excited for today's topic. Anyway, I hope everybody's doing well. Hello. Before we move on to today's topic though, I was up until quite late last night, like 3-4 in the morning-ish, just going back and forth in my messages with people about yesterday's topic. And everybody had the most amazing insights. And I do think that feminism is a topic we need to revisit again because what I did want to say that I noticed throughout my conversations with everybody and really my conversations with Ellie afterwards was that, can you guys hear me? Bye, Batya. What I noticed was that I think that the word feminism is a fully loaded word, like we said yesterday, that comes with a lot of societal obligations. And, if you're a feminist, then this and this. And to be a feminist, you have to believe this and this. And if you believe this and this, then you are a feminist. And I think for me personally, as I grew up and as I grow up, I don't even care about the word feminism. I don't even care what it stands for to everybody else. But for me, what feminism is the confidence to be proud in my own skin and to have the self-esteem and the courage to be who I am and make decisions that are good for me and therefore my family and my children because I choose to prioritize them. And whether I am a stay-at-home mom or I am a full-time, or I work full-time, or I work part-time, or I work part-time in the house, part-time out of the house, or I'm not a mom, or an aunt, or whatever you are in this world, I think if you are proud of your role and your contribution in this world, and you are proud of the person that you are and that you stand up for what you believe in, whether it's vocally or silently or just you live your life according to your values, then you're a feminist. And if you're a man, by the way, and you fit into that standard, then guess what? You're also a feminist according to my definition. I just think anybody that is proud enough and secure enough and confident enough to be who they are and comfortable in their skin, while, that doesn't mean that you're done growing, obviously, and done learning and done evolving. But today I am happy with who I am. I am proud of who I am. I do not have to hide who I am to make you happy. I do not have to be a chameleon in this world, to fit in everywhere. I think that is the definition of feminism to me. And the other thing I wanted to say is that somebody brought up in the message box that, what did she say that I wanted to tell you guys that I thought it was such a good point? She was saying that, okay, it's like leaving my brain right now. And I knew when she wrote it, I should have written it down, but I was like, oh, that's such a good point. I'm definitely not going to forget it. And then I definitely forgot it. Okay, it's fine. We'll get back to that or it will pop into my head in the middle of talking. Anyway, I'm really, really excited for today's topic. And really what I would love to do is jump right into comments or bringing people on. I guess I'll start the conversation by telling you that until 4 years ago, until I started Peas Loving Carrots, I didn't work. And I was like full-time stay-at-home mom, which I don't like that term really either. I don't like any terms because they put too much demands and pressure and meaning on people's shoulders. And like, it's so unnecessary. Like, all of these labels feel like they burden you more than help you in any role you have. So whatever. But I actually loved not working and being home with my kids, and it's something that I value, and it's what I want for my daughters if they want that for themselves. I think it is a incredibly difficult and demanding, and I mean, like, it's more than full-time, because if a full-time job is 40 hours a week, a stay-at-home mom works 24/7. So by the way, she gets overtime for the rest of her life. She's already overtime. Like, by day 2 of the week, she is overtime because that's 48 hours, right? So it's more than a 40-hour work week. Anyway, stay-at-home moms get overtime 5 days a week, okay? That's basically what it is. It's a full-time job, and it is extremely difficult and extremely demanding, and I really did enjoy it, and I guess my love for cooking and food really led me to starting Peas, Love, and Carrots. I was definitely a little bit bored. I had like Maggie was like 8 months old when I started Peas, Love, and Carrots, so she was still napping like twice a day, like those really long naps, like 3 hours in the morning, 3 hours in the afternoon. My kids weren't coming home till later, and I just found myself actually a little bit bored. And I had heard about Instagram, whatever, so I started doing it. But it was really more of a hobby than a job. And I would say in the last 2.5 years is really when it evolved into this full-time, part-time job, because I don't know any mother that has time for a full-time job. So even when she's doing a part-time job, it's full-time. Right. Yeah, basically. I don't know any mom that has time for a part-time job. So I think it's just, a lot for me personally. Like, the parts of work that are fun, and I'm wondering if this relates to everybody or anybody. For me, the parts of my work that I enjoy doing, what drives me to do the work I do, are not difficult for me. That's not where I have a hard time balancing. For me, it's difficult to do the parts of my job that I don't like, because first of all, it's very difficult to ever prioritize that around my kids, because I'll always put my kids first because I'd rather be with them than be doing like the dirty work. Then when I'm doing the dirty work, I don't actually want to be there, so I get like snippy, and I'm like, okay, you have to just let me finish this. Like, just go play, just go do this, just go do this. And then I feel like bad, like, why am I doing this work? I want to be with my kids. Like, they're only going to be 5 years old on November 15th once. I don't want to miss this day. And it's sort of just like a bad cycle, and I don't really know how, like, it's just really, really hard. Doing the parts of your job that you don't like, I think, are really hard. And then when those sort of pile up, they take over the parts of work you do like, because you have less room for those fun whatever parts. And I guess, like, if you have ideas or you have suggestions of how to balance that, I would love to personally hear that. I think another difficulty that we can talk about, for in general, all of the difficulties of working at home, are working at home. I very, very often feel like, hi, Annette, how are you? Annette is probably the perfect person for this conversation because she runs a full-time business, and she's a full-time mom, and she's a powerhouse. I think that when you have to leave your house to work, in a way, it can be easier. Like, because my work is in my housework never ends. So anytime I'm sitting at my dining room table working, it's at the expense of like all this housework that's in my face. And then while I'm working, I'm also thinking about the housework, and that's never out of my headspace. Again, when it's the fun parts of my job, I'm not thinking about the housework because I'm so enjoying the fun parts of the job. So I guess I'm really talking about the not fun parts of job, like, sending things to your accountant or writing articles. No, actually, I do enjoy writing the articles, but not always. It depends what the article's about. Things like that. I'm trying to think what else. I try to set hours for work, but it doesn't always work. For sure. I totally feel that now with quarantine. Yeah, working in the house is really difficult. Taxes. Blech. I know. Taxes are momish. I genuinely feel bad for accountants. I know, like, they choose their job also and this and that, but, like, can you imagine your life is taxes? I mean, also math. Like, these people really like math. I kind of envy them. They could do things like in their head, like, 7 times 8. Oh, they just know the answer. Okay, great. Rub it in. But, it's good. Hold on. Okay, there is a request to come on. I would like to take you on, but yesterday I asked, yes, ma'am. I love you, Annette. Yes, I wish I left my house to work because it would make a distinction between the two. I agree. Even before quarantine, I always work from home. Now it's especially challenging, but we try our best. Yeah, I do both, work from home and work outside. You must create boundaries. Okay, so what does that mean? Tell us. What do those boundaries look like? Let's say you're in the house and you're creating boundaries. Does that boundary mean you lock yourself in a room? Is that boundary a time-bound boundary? Also, what about now at this period when all the kids are home? Anytime you're working, you are taking away from your kids, because right now we have this crazy situation where we're 24/7 with our kids. So for me personally, I want to make the most of this time, let's say, right? I want them to remember it fondly, and instead of it used to be that if I work for 10 minutes, it's just 10 minutes. But now, because we're together all the time, if I'm working for 10 minutes, it's blown out of proportion, and it feels to them like I'm working for an hour, I'm an accountant who loves cooking and works from home and office. If your clients call, they must know that you have certain hours. Right, so I think that's a really good boundary to set. That's that's one of the few things that I'm very good about, is that I just don't pick up my phone in the afternoon hours, which drives everybody I work with in America nuts. But because their day starts at let's say 8 or 9 a.m., which is 3 or 4 p.m. here, which is about when all of my kids are starting to roll in. And there's no way I could talk to you from 4 p.m. until 10 p.m. So I'll set meetings for 10 p.m. my time, which is, 3 p.m. New York time. They're but my day ends at 4. I'm okay, but I'm willing to talk to you at 10 p.m. my time, which is late for me. You have to adjust. I live 7 hours away. That's how it is. I know someone who only starts working after all of their kids are sleeping. I do too. Actually, I'll tell you, I think she'd be fine that I share this, but she wouldn't say you could share, whatever. The amazing Chani Nyman, if you guys listen to our podcast on delegating, Chani Nyman is an incredible leader. Incredible. She has wonderful delegating skills. She's very good at organizing a group of people. She's very motivational, and she's very good at being diplomatic. And our podcast that we did together was about delegating, because she's an excellent delegator. Because when you are the editor-in-chief of a magazine and of a website, kosher.com, you must delegate. You cannot you cannot curate and cultivate entire magazines and websites every single day all by yourself. You need to build a really, really good team. And she's really good at that, and creating trust and creating open lines of communication. And she actually, now that her kids are home, her workday doesn't start until 10 p.m. at night, and she works until 4 in the morning. So instead of working from 10 to 4, she's working from 10 to 4, just PM to AM instead of AM to PM. So definitely this time is unique in that way, that we are having all to move around and shift. But at this time, she's not willing to take away from her kids right now. I can't function at night hours. I don't sleep so much, but I can't do my best functional work then. I always work from home, but now with this virus, it's so much harder because I don't have a babysitter for my baby, and I have to help the bigger ones set up for Zoom classes. Yeah. Oh my gosh, the school classes are great. I wish they would just cancel school and say, okay, everybody's going back to the grade they were in when we go back to school. Everyone's getting to try it out now. Interesting to see how people who thought it would be a perfect arrangement are no, this is so not for me, right? It's true. It's really true. Working from home means 24 hours. In an office, once you leave, you leave. You shut out work mentally. That's true. There is definitely benefits to office work. But at the same time, I did hear from people in the question box that they feel like people working in an office, a few people said this, that it's really, really difficult to be out of the house all day. Some office jobs are not part-time, right? So some office jobs, the mother or father is walking in the house exactly at the same time as a few of the children are getting home from school, or after the children have come home from school. And when they walk in that house, they don't even have time to wash their hands or breathe. It's literally move for 4 or 5 hours, bedtime, crash. And that like 5 hours of like intense adrenaline day after day after day really, really takes a toll out of them as well. And I just think I part of it is just that, you know, being an adult and, you know, having a family it's tough, man. It's just tough. I'm not a working from home kind of person. Difficult right now to come home to everything, but generally really loving this time. I agree. I also am loving this time. I mean, not loving, that's a hard word when people are suffering, but I'm trying to make the most of this time and really trying to like create memories. And I saw a video of like one of these like TikTok videos or something, and somebody put out, and it was like fast forward like 40 years from now, and a kid asked a grandparent like, "Grandpa, we learned about the great virus in school," and the kid was like, and they said it was the darkest period of the 21st century. What was it like for you? And the grandpa says, "Well, grandson, I remember having movie nights, and I remember spending more time with my parents than I ever spent, and I remember doing projects, and I remember going bike riding, and I remember getting fresh air." And like that video right away resonated with me. I'm like, okay, I want to make good memories here. Cool. Hold on. It took me time to get clients because of that, but I was fine with it because that's what worked. When does Khani sleep? She doesn't. Right now, she's sleeping very little. It's really hard these days. I always work from home. Baruch Hashem, just computer work. So now I only begin work once my little ones are in bed, and I end up working till 2 a.m. Yeah, that's what a lot of people are saying. It's really, really hard. Yes, cancel school. I don't think anybody will listen to us if we chant about it. But now my husband is around all day, so he cares for the kids while I sleep until around 11 a.m. Whoa! Husband of the year. That's a pretty good deal. I pick up my child from school on my way home from work, and then don't stop until about 9 p.m. and then, like you said, crash. Yeah, I think it's just hard all around. So I think we really need tips here from people that are doing things really well. Like, I once heard a speech from Zahava Bronstein. She said that if there is anything she can redo, she would hire more help, and that's what keeps me going. It's so interesting because I definitely I agree with that. During the year, you have to take whatever help you can get. For me, I personally have a very hard time delegating help when it comes to my children. Like, I don't want to be, you know, sitting at a desk working while somebody else is playing and having fun with my kids. I want to be the one playing and having fun with them. Even though obviously that's not always the case. Sometimes I just need someone to take care of them. But that is an area that is very, very hard for me that I am really trying to work on because, like, for what? They need to only have fun with me? That's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. But I have to work through it. That's what we need to do. Make sure the kids have good memories of this time. As stressful as it is for us, the whole situation isn't easy for the kids too. My kids wish they can go back to school. Yeah, I think all kids wish they can go back to school. Right, cleaning help is a really big deal. Baruch Hashem, that is something that I do, like, because Ellie goes back and forth full time, all the time. We have full-time help. Well, you guys know Jenny, she's the best, she's amazing. And that is like a really big thing for me. It does help a lot. I always worked from home, but now work slowed down. And when I do have work, I don't work when my boys need me because otherwise I get stressed out and it's just not worth it. Yeah. Anytime there's stress related to work, it needs to be separated from my kids. Otherwise, like, I will just end up taking it out on them in some way, and it's just unfair. Biggest struggle is self-care right now. I'm so busy prepping for my Zoom classes I teach and taking care of my family. Chavi Samuels. I feel like people are putting pressure on you about self-care. I really do. I know. It's what we discussed yesterday. Like, everybody needs to chill. Like, all the people saying that you have to have self-care, they also need to chill. Like, self-care doesn't need to happen 24/7. I know. Every person is going to freak out right now. It's another term I'm not a huge fan of. I feel like the term self-care puts pressure on you. Don't tell me to self-care. Like, I don't have time to self-care right now. And, like, I'm not a 4-year-old, so that's also okay. We're adults, and some time periods are harder, but we'll get through it. And, if you really need this self-care, so I guess find a way to do it that works for you. But, I don't know, self-care also puts these, like, I feel like as I grow up, I can break free of all of these chains that are, what are the chains made up? They're made up of things that people tell you you have to do, or you should be, or you should strive for. Break free of those chains and look inside of yourself and figure out what's good for you, what's working for you. What do you need from yourself right now? You know, right now, this time period is crazy. My kids need me. My husband needs me. I need to cook the food. I need to do the laundry. Embrace that. Get that job done. And don't sit there every day victimizing yourself. Oh, I need self-care. I need self-care. No. Own it. You are amazing. You are making the most of this time period. You are working really, really hard. And when this is over, you need a vacation. Or every Sunday morning, you need an hour to lock the door and take a bath. But I don't know. I just feel like it's like such a victim-y term. Self-care. Okay, none of you guys agree. That's okay. No. Okay, one thing I do that's really helpful is that I plan meals to a T. So that once my baby is settled, my husband and I can eat a yummy dinner together and unwind. Super helpful. I think that's great. That sounds like self-care to me. In non-virus life, I had help with laundry and dishes, so I'm able to work without worrying about those two major things. That's huge. If self-care means a deep breath, then that's what you do. Right. I believe in self-care. Self-care is the kind of thing everyone needs it, figure out themselves. People shouldn't be stressing so much over it. Right. Self-care is definitely relevant, but when self-care puts pressure and burdens you, then it's not self-care. When you have so much anxiety about how you are going to have self-care, then it's not effective anymore, because until you get to that self-care place, it caused you so much anxiety. Don't abuse yourself, but you can relax for yourself too and not care that much for yourself when everyone needs you so much. Just means don't forget your own needs. But maybe you have an easier time with this than other people. I actually don't. I definitely have like a syndrome where I will like wait and put myself last. But really, like, since I got married, that was something that like Ellie really helped me work on right away, was just not becoming a victim or a martyr. That was like a big thing. Like, stop martyring yourself. Like, every week, the first year we were married, we'd have company, and then I would go and complain to him, and he was like, what is happening? Why are you complaining about this? Say no, or say yes, and don't complain. And he was right. And I had to grow up. And it was something I would say in the last 5 or 6 years, I have worked really, really hard on not being a martyr. And it has made my life better. And now when I do see that type of martyrdom in people around me, I don't think like, oh my gosh, that's horrible, they need to work on it. But I think like, so relieved that I broke free of that chain of martyrdom and I'm able to place those limits and those boundaries now. But it was really hard and really, really uncomfortable at first, for sure. I feel so guilty working now from home and having my kids with me. I feel like I'm not giving them the attention they need. I'm either going to neglect my work or them. It stresses me out. That it is really stressful right now, because if you're working, you're neglecting them, and if you're with them, you're neglecting work, and it's a really hard balance. I guess maybe what somebody said before about creating time boundaries would be very helpful to you. Like, okay, you sit down and communication is definitely the key to half of these hurdles, right? Because the more you communicate with your family and you bring them into your process, the better it is. And I'm thinking now that I actually need to do this with my children also, where we have this whole communication about school, right? School is from this to this hour. Everybody calls. You wake up, you daven, you brush your teeth, you wash your diet, whatever. You do everything. You do all the morning stuff, and then you do Zoom calls, and then you have breakfast, and then you do the rest. Well, we don't have Zoom calls. Your phone calls, then breakfast, then you have the rest of your classes, and maybe what I need to incorporate. I'm thinking about this now. I need to tell my kids that also, by the way, from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., Mama needs an hour of computer time where I sit on the computer and I get work done. And just like I work their calls into our schedule, well, why can't I work my calls into their schedule and make it like very concrete? And then say, but don't worry, from 10 to 11, it's this time, and then I come back. Like, maybe then I wouldn't feel guilty because they understood that this was my time and they understood what was their time. and the same way they were on their calls. I'm definitely going to do that. Okay. I feel so validated with not liking the term self-care either. Hyperlapse apps make it fun to do dishes or chores around the house. Oh, I love that. And feels so satisfying to watch and send to your sisters who totally don't care about it. That's amazing. So two of my kids have taken the job of hanging the laundry on the laundry rack, and they take it very seriously, but I'm gonna hyperlapse it for them. That's an excellent idea. We have pressure to self-care, take this time to do something new, etc. Still work and family need to happen. Therefore, lessen pressure on ourselves is very helpful. I agree. I carve out exercise time in every day. Not necessarily self-care, but it is for me. But that's what it is. See, like, that's why the term self-care is not good, because you're like, that's not self-care. Of course that's self-care. If you are doing something for yourself and it makes you feel good and it's not for anybody else, then why isn't that self-care? Because society didn't say the term included that. Who cares what the term includes? For you, that's great. I think these are exceptions also times, and we should be kind to ourselves. We can be super productive and organized one day and not the next, and that's okay. That's totally true. Oh, exceptional times. Okay. For me either. I like to host or like to go out. I don't enjoy staying home and not hosting. This time is really teaching me otherwise. That's great. I feel like all of us are learning so much about ourselves, or really having to work on areas that were hard for us in really big ways. I told you, I really was a person that struggled to stay home. In general, like, it's hard for me to like sit still. But definitely being stuck inside my house is difficult. Like, I literally can go to the shuk every single day of the week, and there are many weeks that happens for me. Even when I was first married, I would like tell Ellie in the morning, he'd be like, what are you doing today? Because like, I just had Yechazkel Meir when we lived here. I told you I wasn't working. And I'd be like, oh, I'm running errands. And he'd be like, what errands? I'd be like, errands. What errands? I don't know, errands. I have errands to do. I would just go and wander around because I needed to fill my day. But now I am actually getting more comfortable with staying home and filling my time. And something I've never ever done is like pick up a book and read a book in the middle of the day, because who has time to sit and read books in the middle of the day during the week? Like, I don't even think I had time for that when I was in high school and supposed to be reading books in the middle of the week. But I have been doing that once in a while. That time doesn't happen so often, right? Because everybody's home. But that's been really, really nice. I'm learning to find ways to do things like that. I mean, in this Corona time, everyone is different. You seem like, totally agree with the martyrdom thing. It's a work in progress. Yes. The times I love that I work at home are during pregnancy. I could totally see that, actually, and relate to that. I like get very sick in the beginning, and having to be in an office would be really hard for me. Do you ever get to go through all your questions from the plans questions? These lives are just the comments. Actually, I always go through all the questions. I actually rewrite all the questions, and a lot of the questions are very similar questions, often just written in different formats. And then, so like, I'll compile them into like the least common denominator. You know what I mean? Like that was a math term. What? I'll compile them into like one generalized question. Sometimes the questions are not always appropriate, or they're like extremely personal about the person. And sometimes the questions are not relevant to the conversation, which is fine because it's a place to write and people know that I see. Things like that. We actually got through a lot of the questions in the beginning. A lot of the questions were basically really just about how to create boundaries. Like, I would say that could be one category where there was like 40 questions. How do I create boundaries? How do I work when my kids are home? Things like that. Nobody really. She turned a corner of her den into, wait 1 second, Ellie! My phone's about to die, which is weird because it's plugged in. Oh, there we go. Now it's plugged back in. She turned a corner of her living room into a home office. She bought a Costco table, and she put a really pretty tablecloth on it, and she put her laptop on it, and she has one of those like folding Chinese like walls in her garage, and she put that around and she made it her office, and she goes in there. One woman said that she generally doesn't like being in her room so much, but she goes to the room and she locks the door and she puts a sign on the top, welcome to mommy's office. This is a professional environment. Like, please knock. And she sent a picture of the rules. That was really cute. One question was from my brother that had nothing to do with any of this. We were having a debate on our family chat last night about Cocoa Pebbles versus Fruity Pebbles. Some crazy people picked Fruity Pebbles over Cocoa Pebbles, but then they were promptly notified that that was crazy. So, Benjamin, sorry, you're crazy. Oh, was he the one? He was the one. I will say Ellie was also the one. But that's, Ellie likes Wacky Mac. I know everybody here likes Wacky Mac. The whole world likes Wacky Mac. Oh gosh. Did your kids go back to school? No. Some kids in Israel, grades 1 to 3, went back to school already. The Chinuch Hatzma'i, the school system that they're in, did not return to school yet. And certain cities just did, like Tel Aviv, Yafo, Ashkelon. I think there were 6 cities total that refused the order, that just couldn't get the kids back in school yet. What would you do post this corona to prepare in case there's a second wave in a few months? What would you stock up on? Nothing. I didn't even stock up when all this was happening. The truth is, guys, like in reality, like look back 2 months, nothing ran out. The world wasn't missing anything. We didn't run out of anything. I live in a really small apartment. There's not so many places to keep things. What would I stock up on? The only thing that gave a little cause for concern was like eggs, but I don't know if that had to do with corona. We don't actually know what that had to do with. But I can't stock up on eggs now anyway. And the chicken situation got scary for a little bit, but that was like 2 days. Then we got through to the butcher and all was good. So I don't think I would do it. Oh, I would stock up on art supplies. I ran out of art supplies very, very quickly, and I always keep a cabinet very well stocked with markers, with glue, with pom-poms, with popsicle sticks, with crayons, with paints, with paper, construction paper, scissors, scotch tape, things like that. And I ran out of that like 2 weeks into Corona. So when this is all over, I do need to go and replenish that, and I will probably buy a little extra because that stuff doesn't expire, and whenever you use it up, so it's just a little bit longer till the next time. But I did not like running out of that stuff. Cocoa Pebbles. Oh, Cocoa Pebbles. Yeah, Cocoa Pebbles. Okay, excellent. My house is always fighting, which is better, Cocoa Pebbles or Fruity Pebbles? Fruity. Oh my gosh, some people said fruity. Fruity. Oh, there are more fruity. You would stock up on projects. Yes, okay, I would. I'm having a hard time finding flour. Oh, in America? That's very interesting. I know in America there's definitely a yeast shortage. We are not having shortages. I bought 10 bags of flour today, actually. I love Cocoa Pebbles. That's right. Thank you. We are not having any shortages. I mean, our eggs are back. Our meat and chicken is back. All is back. But I don't really know so much about this. Having a hard time finding flour and yogurts. So I'm pretty sure you can make yogurt. I mean, I'm positive you can make yogurt. Not that that helps you, because you probably don't want to make yogurt. I don't want to make yogurt. So I definitely hear you. I don't know. I think that a lot of the struggles from work life, Fruity Pebbles all the way, but they are both amazing. What? Fruity Pebbles? Really? A huge flour shortage in London. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. So I guess maybe stack up on that. I don't know. The thing is about the second wave is that, speaking from working from home, how is Ellie doing without traveling? So actually, I think it's more difficult for him than for me, because we don't have an office. There's nowhere for him to go in the home to work from. So he's basically like locked in our room the whole day, because he can't sit at the dining room table because everybody is home and loud and he's on calls. So it's definitely difficult. It's definitely difficult for me that he's working from home, because I'm always like, Ellie, can you do this? Ellie, can you help with this? And then he's like, no. And I'm like, right, okay, right. It's working hours. You actually really can't. So it's hard. Definitely chocolate for breakfast, Cocoa Pebbles. Can't wait for the cookbook to come out. Want to see a preview of the index. Oh, that's so interesting. I would love to show a preview of the index. Unfortunately, our school has really strict rules about what information of the cookbook I can release. before it comes out, because there's such a culture on here of like, which I genuinely don't care about. Like, I really have worked on myself to really not care if somebody takes an idea or copies an idea or whatever. I know there's a huge movement of people that say there's no ideas, everything has been done, you don't create anything. But I think that really genuinely creative people actually do create things. And I think that genuinely creative people are always well, at least I think I'm creative, but I'm always happy to give credit whenever somebody inspires me, or whenever I get a recipe from somebody. I think it's really, really not for them, not even for you. It's important for me to acknowledge where the inspiration came from. And like, I think there's a mitzvah, there's a value to that. And, you know, I know that some people will say like, well, I don't need to give credit because it wasn't their idea, or it couldn't be that it was their idea, or whatever. And I'm always just like, okay. Like, you can't fight with people about these things, and it's not worth getting upset about. And but from the side of Art Scroll, I understand where they're coming from, because, you know, they're putting out this book and they invested a lot of money into Peas, Love, and Carrots and our community and the book. And if they put out the whole index and then people just start like, oh, well, I have this recipe, or just make this recipe, or give you a recipe for this, or give you a recipe for this, you know, Art Scroll feels like they could like work their way through the book. I feel more confidence in the book than that, and more confidence in the recipes, Baruch Hashem, that I don't personally care. Like, let them try and copy them, like, have the recipe sooner. You know, the hardest thing for me is holding back the recipe, but I don't really have a problem with it, but I am contractually bound to Art Scroll, so I can't actually do that. Thank you for highlighting this topic. By example, you show that women need to elevate each other and celebrate. Oh, thank you. It is something I work on, but I think I can always improve. But I do think in general, especially like what we're literally sitting here talking about, how hard it is, how hard we work. We are so similar to each other as women. Even though we're unique and we're different and everybody has their different strengths, we don't need to compete with each other. I mean, we can be friends, and we can inspire each other, and we can elevate each other, because we all have such similar struggles. We're so much more alike than we are different. And I mean that in a very serious way. Like, every woman has insecurities. Every woman has areas where she feels confident in. Every woman has strengths. Every woman struggles. Every single woman struggles with motherhood. Every single woman struggles if they want to become a mother. Every single woman struggles to find a husband. Every single woman struggles within her marriage. Every single woman struggles within her own head. We are so similar. Life is really not easy. And then on top of it, we have life itself, which adds to it, right? Like, we're busy working, we're coming home, we're making dinner, we're making a dinner that he likes, but also she has to like it, and also he has to like it, and also this one has to like it. But all of them like it besides for this one. And then we have to make a second dinner, but we don't want to make a second dinner, so we give you cereal. But then the one that likes this dinner decides that they really want the cereal. But then we have to go take that phone call for work. We can't miss that phone call. It's really important. So we leave the cereal box out. We run to take that phone call. We come back. The cereal box has spilled on the floor. Guess what? At the same time, your husband is texting you, okay, gonna be home 20 minutes late. And then your other kid comes in crying because somebody else tripped them, not on purpose, but of course on purpose. They meant to do it. And we're so busy doing so many things that why do we need to add more pressure to ourselves, thinking like, oh, well, she's copying me, or I don't want to give her credit because she didn't even make it up, or I designed this article of clothing and then she just went and copied this article. Who cares? Guess what? If I make a recipe and I post it, and then you make a recipe and you post it, and somebody liked your picture and they didn't like my picture, or somebody thinks that you invented that recipe, that's how Hashem wanted it. Hashem wanted that person to see that recipe from you, and I genuinely believe that. Nobody is gonna not buy my book that wasn't meant to buy it. Meaning, if every single blogger out here put out a cookbook the same day I put out a cookbook, I would sell the same amount of cookbooks I was meant to sell. Nothing can take away from that, and nothing can add to it. Because Hashem literally decides that. There are 3 things that come from Hashem: parnasa, kavod, and how long you live in this world. And we can daven to affect it, or our actions, I mean, that's like very high spiritual levels, can do things to affect it. But at the end of the day, nothing can change that. So nobody can ever take anything away from you that's meant for you. And nobody can give you something that wasn't meant for you. Which is why we just can't care. We can't let ourselves, which is difficult, obviously, right? Because you see something that bothers you, and that initial flare-up can hurt. The question is, what do we do after that initial flare-up, right? Like, we get that initial pain, like, oh my gosh, she copied me. Oh my gosh, she didn't give me credit. Or, oh my gosh, I don't want to give her credit because I really don't like her. Or, oh my gosh, this person is mean to my best friend, so I'm not gonna, go to wherever with her. Or I'm not gonna let her photocopy my notes because she didn't let my friend photocopy her notes. I'm really trying to think of such arbitrary examples, but it takes so much energy to focus on all those cheshbonos, to focus on all those calculations, that we're literally adding more work. This is such a good topic. So fits in perfectly. We're adding more work for ourselves. We work so hard already. Hi, Danielle. You can have the kids FaceTime with me if they're bored. I can read them a book. Thank you, Mom. They're not bored. They are in the parking lot getting fresh air right now. But thank you. I just think that our lives are so busy and we work so hard that adding more stress of keeping track of what other people do to us and what we need to do and all of this and competition and this and that literally is just making our life harder and is adding to our workload every single day. I agree. We should raise each other up. Everyone has struggles that are different, and something that is amazing that Hashem has given us the capability to raise others. I love it. Okay. I think that, I agree with you. We should be raising each other up. And, and I do think at the same time, it's okay to be sensitive. You see that somebody, I'm really trying to think of very arbitrary examples, because I can't even think of examples that pertain to me, because I promise you, if it does happen to me, it mamish goes out of my mind, because even if I get that initial ping, which I'm human, I would sometimes get that ping, oh my gosh, she copied me and didn't tag me, or oh my gosh. I literally have just work on myself where I'm just I don't care. Okay. And I let it go to this point that I literally cannot think of an example right now. But I don't want you to think that I thought of an example, so I'm trying to think of something really arbitrary. Let's say a rabbi writes this whole vart, right? They thought of this really, really, really beautiful idea related to Torah. And then another rabbi comes and actually had the same or similar thought. Or he didn't have that similar thought. And he went and he gave over the thought that he actually heard from that rabbi, and he didn't give him credit. I mean, that rabbi should actually be sensitive to give him credit. Everybody should work on themselves to be a mensch. It's the menschlich thing to do. However, the first rabbi who initially thought of that thought, he needs to do his part and he needs to let that go. So we're not giving everybody a free pass. What we're saying is that everybody needs to work on their own midos. You need to be a person that doesn't have a taina against somebody that you think stole an idea or copied or whatever. And the person that copied needs to work on themselves to give credit where credit is due or whatever. But that's not your problem. That's his problem. Your problem is letting it go. His problem is working on himself. And neither of your problems need to connect. And you don't need to tell him about his problem, and he doesn't need to tell you about your problem. Because you really just need to focus on yourself. And I'm talking about me right now. I just need to focus on myself. It's not my problem whether this person gives credit or doesn't give credit or takes something or doesn't take something or whatever. That has nothing to do with me. What has to do with me is how I react to the situation. And at the same time, do I behave like that? If I behave like that, I need to work on my mitos and I need to be a mensch. Imitation is the biggest form of flattery, 100%. I always tell my kids when they complain, their sibling copied them. I think it's true also. I also think that if you're constantly creating and somebody is constantly copying, then you're never in jeopardy, because you're always creating. You're a creative person. You have nothing to worry about. Of course you'll you'll just keep creating. That's not your, it's not going to be an issue for you. You'll move on to the next thing. That person has to wait for you to move on to the next thing before they can create. But you don't have to, because that just comes and it happens. Baruch Hashem. Hi, Devorah. Oh, Maggie, you want to say hi? I will say that these lives have not been easy for Maggie, right? Even though me and Maggie spend every second of every day together. Then these lives happen and Maggie says, oh, are you going live?
I want to do the piano, but I can't because it's on live.
You could do the piano, I let you. Do you want to show them what you're wearing?
Mama's shirt.
We were practicing OOTDs today, right? This is a Janelle LaFay shirt, which I love, which also Maggie loves, that she turned into a dress with a belt. Mim is saying hi to you.
Hi, Mimi.
Should we bring Mimit on to talk about work-life balance?
Yeah.
Yeah? Bring Mimit on. Mimit, you want to jump on and talk about how to balance work and life?
Hi.
Cookbook to Modian. Totally kidding. I love her. I'm actually listening to the live. Oh, a big kiss from Mimit.
Ask her if she wants to go on the live.
Mimit, do you want to go on live? What are you eating? Oh, the chicken?
Mimi, come on.
Okay, let's see. Okay, hold on. Oh, she said she.
I'm here. 1 second. Yeah, hi. Hi.
Hi.
Maggie Magushka, I love you so much.
Mom, what do you think about all of that? Balancing work and life and kids and home and making boundaries?
I have to tell you, yesh koach to all of you with children today. Yesh koach. I don't know. Dad and I keep saying every day, oh my God, what would we have done? We probably would have killed them already. What would we have done? I don't know. That is, how much patience can one couple have? Yes, koach to all of you. I'm sorry that you all have to go through this, but Hashem should just keep holding your hands and being on top of you, because it's not an easy task. And I only had 3.
I want to say something also about the work-life balance, is that I think that Daddy is a really good example, because my whole life, he left the house early in the morning and he came home around 7 p.m., which was pretty late when we were little. Right. And I don't have memories of him being like always working or a workaholic or feeling neglected in any way. And I will say that my father did something that I really tried to emulate with my kids, that now that everybody has access to phones is very difficult. But no matter how many times a day we called my father or what he was doing, he stopped and he answered the phone, even if it was just to say, I need to call you back in 2 minutes. We never heard from his secretary, your father's busy, he can't talk right now.
Never.
I don't think in my life I've ever heard it.
Never. And how many times a day did we each call him?
Many, many, many times. So I think
up to now.
Yeah, I think that in terms of work-life balance, whether you're working from home or you're working from your office, you can work and make your children feel like a priority. And I think that is something I really, really learned from my father, just by the fact that he picked up the phone all the time. Even, now as an adult, he'll send a text, I can't talk, I'm going to call you back in 2 minutes. Call you back in 5 minutes.
I just parked in front of the high school.
Oh, God. We're not getting into that here, okay?
No, I'm joking. No. But your father to this day is amazing. I remember I used to call him many, many times a day. And finally, like sometimes he'd say, Nicole, I'm in a meeting. And we finally made a deal that we had to have something that we said when he couldn't talk.
Right, because he always picked up the phone. So I think that's a key, is that you can focus on your work and still make your children feel like you care just by simply acknowledging them.
Right.
I'm going to work on that. I think communication is really a key here, because I really think if I sat down with my kids and said to them, listen, You guys have schoolwork to do, and we make time for that every day. Mama has work to do. I need an hour to sit at the table. I'll set you up with crayons. I'll set you up with breakfast, whatever. But then during that hour, you need to let me work. You can come ask me questions. I'll answer your questions. But I can't get up. I can't run around. I can't do an activity. And I can't hear from you. I'm so bored. Or play this with me because this is my work time. 1 hour, let me at it.
Right, right, right. But in the
Somebody-
past couple of days, you've been 2-3 hours.
Yeah. Well, that's really a testament to Ellie, honestly. That's not work. I mean, it is work-life balance because really you guys saw on my Instagram the past 2 days I wasn't cooking on here because if I was giving myself time for these lives, then I also had to make a sacrifice on the other end.
Right.
I think that's also part of work-life balance is sacrifices, you know? Mom, you have to mute your phone or lower the volume.
Okay, sorry. All right. Hi.
I think part of the balance is figuring out where you could sacrifice and again, not martyring yourself. Not everything has to happen. You know, if
Right.
I'll tell you like the first day of the live when we ended up going 3 hours over, at some point during the live, I like signaled to Ellie and we ordered sushi for dinner. I realized that the live wasn't going to finish in time for me to make dinner. And yeah, no, that was a delicious outcome, but it wasn't my plan. I planned to make a delicious dinner for me and my family. It's something I love. It's a way that I give to them, but I couldn't make it happen that day. So I did, I sacrificed.
Right.
I, you know, like I will say in my whole like marriage, I do not go to sleep with dishes in the sink. It really, 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 really bothers me. I do not like to wake up to old, dirty dishes. Like when you don't do the dishes right away, they get more disgusting, right? Like even if you soak them, even if you rinse them, day-old dishes are gross to touch. However, even with that, during this time period, there was one day I just completely passed out in my clothing. And there was one night where I made a decision to go to sleep with dishes in the sink. I did not feel good about it. And the next morning I did do
Were
the
you
dishes.
thinking about it the whole time you were falling asleep?
Yes. And the next morning I woke up and I did dishes with gloves on because I wouldn't even touch the dishes.
Did you get those gloves from Kitchen Caboodles? The gloves that are a sponge at the end on the hand? Oh my God. I'm addicted. I'm addicted.
I didn't, but I'm saying that was a sacrifice I chose to make
Right.
one day. I had a lot of work to do. It was when the cookbook was still being worked on, and it just was a sacrifice that I had to make. Some days you really do have to choose, and it's
Right.
really hard. So hopefully you choose things that won't, impact your work or impact your family, and some of the other things slide. And if your house is a little bit less organized and the laundry is not as perfectly folded, you have to go easy on yourself right now. There's
Right.
no other way.
Right. But you're all incredible. Yesterday though, I don't know what made me I took my iPad and I said, you know what, let me FaceTime Mayor. It was a good thing I FaceTimed him when I did. It was like Bashert, Hakomin.
Right, because Ellie left to Mincha during the live.
And Mayor was like, I can't go in one room. My father's there working. My mother's on her chair live. And I said, so Mayor, that's why you have Mimi. You call me and we'll talk and we'll hang out and we'll play a game, whatever you want to do. We were on the phone
Right.
for such a long time. He was so, but I said, why didn't you go outside? He said, today we can't. Yesterday, I guess they couldn't go out or something.
No, it was pouring rain. They went out earlier, but they also came in earlier because
Oh,
of the rain.
so that's why the bad mood, having to.
Yeah, they really
Yeah.
need that outdoor time,
Right. Yeah, your kids need to be outside.
Okay.
They love it. They love being outdoors.
That felt mildly insulting, but okay.
No, they like to be busy. They're very active.
Right, it's true.
Only in my house, they like to sit upstairs and not move.
Because you have TVs everywhere, and they're not used
Right.
to TVs, so they
Yeah,
need
well,
to binge watch.
Wait until this time when you come. They each have a TV in their room.
They don't know this about us, Mom. We're exposing too much.
Oh, who? Oh, well, whatever. You know, their room. It's my house, my room. Every room in my house has a TV.
It's true. It's true. My father doesn't do a lot of housework. However, I will tell you that this past summer when we got there, it was the most contribution I've ever seen my father do, is that he bought a label maker and labeled every single remote according to, like, labeling which room it belonged in, so that when a remote was missing, he could identify who the culprit was.
Do you want to know what's going on now? The
No.
remote from the den lost the cover behind the batteries.
Oh,
that's-
wait, and look at that. It got lost without my children there. I guess that
We're
means
not
that
sure.
sometimes
We're not
people-
sure. Daddy's not sure. He is blaming you and your family because it was after
Ellie,
your
Ellie, they're
It was
blaming
after your
us
January
and our kids for a lost the battery back of a remote that was lost now. We haven't even been there. It's Corona.
But
No,
we're not
you lost the remote. You lost the remote. They're
I never
blaming us
touched the
for losing-
remotes. I'm not allowed. I'm not allowed to touch the remotes. What's the matter with you? No, it happened after
We
you
weren't
guys
even
were
there.
here in
Wasn't that
January.
What?
Where is it? May.
Does it look like I was there?
What'd he say?
We're not giving it up. It wasn't us. It was you.
Here, I'll tell you.
Not
It
me.
was like in the garage behind the second fridge if you look under the Snapples.
Ow!
The second fridge, he said. It's there.
There's a
Okay,
box of Snapples.
see?
I think it's in between the third and the fourth.
What was the remote doing in the garage?
He's making it up. He's trying to make you do hard work. Oh, look at what Maggie's eating. Show everybody what you're eating. Dum, dum, dum. Cocoa Pebbles for the win. Cocoa Pebbles. What do we like better, Cocoa Pebbles or Fruity Pebbles?
Okay, so what were you talking about?
Thank you. What was who talking about?
You with on when you started your live today.
We're talking about work-life balance. What we were just talking about.
Oh, well, I give you all credit. I don't know how you do it all, and I don't know. You know, do you take turns? Like some husbands go to work, like actually leave the house.
That's actually a really good idea, Mom. Okay,
What?
we have another idea. So far, we have a lot of ideas for making work right now, making work for us right now. One was setting specific hours. One was just straight up working when your kids are asleep. One was working late into the night and then your husband taking the morning so you can sleep at that time. One was communicating with your kids about trying to find a way to like set the time and be very communicative and bring them into the process. And the other way that was such a good idea was taking turns throughout the day with your spouse. So like, let's say instead of your workday lasting, you know, however many hours from 8 to 6, now your workday will last from 8 to 12,
Right.
you know, midnight, but you and your husband are sort of alternating hours, you know, every few hours so that, you know, it's a long day, but at least you're not up till 4 or 5 in the morning.
Right.
Okay,
But
wait, Mom, the live is about to end.
Okay. Oh, I love you all.
Okay, I'm gonna X you off for a second. Thank you so much, Mom. Okay, I think we're gonna end here today because we actually really did cover a lot. If anybody has any, you know, last things to add in, I personally found this very helpful because, you know, now I'm gonna have this whole talk with my kids and make sure that I can work for an hour in the morning. I'll report back to you if, in fact, it actually works. I'm really, really excited with these talk shows. I think they were really great this week. Next week, I think we're going to again try a new format just to keep things interesting and not repetitive. I did get a lot of requests for another great big giveaway, so I have been letting that fester and thinking about doing that again. We originally were going to do one right after Pesach, but then there was other things happening on Instagram that week, so it was great. So I think, please God, we're going to do that next week. And as I said, all of these talk shows are saved to the YouTube channel. You could just go to YouTube/Peas, Love, and Carrots to find them. And I'm really excited for some of next week's topics, I will share. You guys are amazing, and thank you so much. You are incredible. What did you say in the beginning? Did someone actually No. We weren't talking about copying recipes at all. We were just talking about why art school won't let me just show you the entire index of the book because they're afraid of that. I personally don't care. That's what I was saying. Anyway, thank you all so much for being here. You are incredible. We will see you next week, and have a wonderful day, everybody. Oh, okay. Also, why no live tomorrow? I did get a bunch of those questions because we're doing a Zoom birthday party for Dobie tomorrow evening Israel time, so we need to be there. Okay. Goodbye, everybody. Have a great day. See you next week.